Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff, and welcome to a kind of first impressions video. We're taking a look at some Realtree knives. Now, I already filmed the unboxing and everything with these knives, but I lost that footage, so we're just going to do it again right now. I'm just going to pretend like this is my first time experiencing these knives. Now, this was one of the, look at all these flies everywhere. Guys, it is March. It's the 1st of March. Well, it's the 2nd of March, the beginning of March. I'm out here in the mountains. I'm not sure you can see, but there's on these peaks behind me, you probably can't see from this angle. It's a little tiny bit of snow up there. Should be way more. It should not have been this easy for me to get up to this campsite out here in the mountains. Bad winter. Been a bad winter. Too dang hot. Anyways, flies in March in the mountains. Don't like to see it. Anyways, so this was one of the holiday gift packs that came out around the holiday season for 2025, and I found this. I'd seen this pack around, and I thought it looked kind of interesting, but then I found it on sale the other day, so I picked it up. This was a $30 pack. I picked it up for $20, so it comes with 4 knives, 2 fixed blades, 2 folders, about $5 a piece. Yeah, what do I think about them? Well, in the box, there's a couple things I thought were really interesting. Here's one of the folding knives right here. You see that they're kind of going for a little bit of like a buck 110 motif. We've got this wood right here. It's a very cheap composite wood, right? We all know the type. And then we've got brass. This is not brass. This is colored pot metal. But we've got brass butt cap and bolster, just little accents right there. So kind of going for a buck 110 type of vibe. But we have this folding knife here, which is kind of the tactical version. It's got a Tonto blade, partially serrated. Actually, a pretty good looking Tonto. And actually, just from here, this knife is not a bad looking knife. I actually think this is a pretty good looking knife. I do like the accents. I like what they were going for here with the styling. The blade has some really cool swedging up top, and we'll get some close-ups of these later, but cool swedging up top. Good looking Tonto blade. Kind of reminds me of like the Cold Steel Recon series, their combo edge Tontos. But it came with that knife right there. Also came with a Wharncliffe knife right here, which I think looks really interesting. I'm not a huge Wharncliffe guy, but if you're going to make a Wharncliffe blade, you need to fully commit to it being a Wharncliffe, and this one does. Absolutely straight edge, really thin hollow grind. This comes down to a really thin edge, which I like. This is going to be a great knife for your utility cuts. It's going to be a great knife for kind of push cuts like that. The ergos are the ergonomic lines are pretty good. You see here, this just barely kind of fits my hand. Again, as we've talked about many times on this channel, I have regular man-sized palms, and I have short, skinny girl fingers. Wearing gloves is a little bit of a nuisance for me because an XL glove fits this area really well, but sometimes, depending on the company, I've got a little bit left over in the fingers. If I try and wear like a large glove, it fits the fingers, but not the palm. Medium gloves, same type of issue. But this knife here, I say generally I have probably medium-sized hands if you just average all of the proportions out. This does fit my hand, pretty well, but I do take up most of that space in there. But yeah, the ergonomic lines are fairly good, pretty neutral for the most part. We do have, a little bit of a well right here, and this kind of curves back, but, fairly good lines. It's a decently thick knife, so it fills out the hand nicely. We'll get to the rest of the ergos here in just a second. And then the fixed blades. Again, comes with 2 fixed blades. This one right here is probably my favorite of the bunch. Got a nice straight clip point blade here. This is, kind of your typical hunting style cheap fixed blade, right? This is going to be kind of a generalist hunting knife. This will do skinning, boning. You can fillet some fish with this if you really, really wanted to, I guess. Not overly thick, not overly wide. Got about, I don't know, 5 inches of blade here, 4.5, something like that. Yeah, pretty standard hunting fixed blade. The sheaths are nylon with little button clasps, and then they have the plastic inserts. I see a lot of like cheap knife companies doing this these days, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Number one, it does help to prevent the knife from just cutting through the nylon, which is a big problem with nylon sheaths. But it's also just, I don't know, a little bit chintzy. It's just, I don't know. I don't really like it. This knife here, absolutely no positive retention. And the button clasp, I have not yet got it to close. It just doesn't quite, the button just doesn't quite reach, which is an issue that I see with a lot of knife sheaths in this tier, right? They just don't think this part out. So these sheaths are pretty much useless. One thing I do appreciate about the sheaths, though, is that these are completely ambidextrous sheaths. We take the knife out here, you see that the sheath is completely symmetrical, and you can put the knife in whichever way you want. So it is a completely ambi sheath. That's awesome. We'll give them credit for that, I guess. The other knife, same exact sheath, same exact problems. This one has a gut hook on it. This one's more of a spear point, drop point. Again, hollow grind. Same exact handle. The ergos on these knives are not that great, especially on this one, because the fit and finish is just horrible. Horrible. And like I said, we'll get some close-up footage of that here in a little bit. This knife is okay. I think without the gut hook, I might have preferred the profile on this one. I'm not a big fan of gut hooks. I'm really not. I don't know a whole lot of people who are, to be completely honest. If you're one, sound off in the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at these knives close up, get a good look at their fit and finish, enjoy the beautiful graffiti on this table. Be calm, be kind, be happy, be nice, be beautiful, be loved. Honestly, I don't know if you have any choice in whether or not you are loved. You can love people, but I think it's other people's choice to love you. So, I don't know. I don't really participate in graffiti that much, but there is some interesting graffiti on this table. Okay, so let's look at these knives. Before we do that, I just realized I did still have the box. 4 knives set. Got a rundown back here. 9.5-inch gut hook fixed blade knife with nylon sheath. 7.5-inch ball bearing folding knife. And I guess, these are Realtree camo, or I guess Realtree branded. But, these are like Walmart knives. So I think these are exclusive to Walmart. Made by Jordan Outdoor Enterprises. I don't know, is Jordan Outdoor owned by Walmart? Does Walmart own Realtree? I have no idea. So are these Realtree products? Are these Walmart products? Probably both, but whatever. Made in Vietnam. Okay. See how they did over there in Vietnam. I've actually got a good Vietnamese buddy. Shout out to you, Vuong, if you're watching this. Okay. So, let's start with the folders. Yes, they are running on bearings. Satin finish on these blades. Like I said, this one has a very nice hollow grind. You can see here that it gets, pretty darn thin. Decent plunge grind termination, actually, which is kind of surprising. Feels like a very, very useful knife. Now, blade play? Oh, yeah. All over the place. Side to side like crazy. Up and down, there's none. Nice big stop pin. I'll give them credit for that. Access to the liner, pretty good. The liner is very thin and a little bit sharp, but they did try and mitigate that with a little bit of knurling. The detent is okay. It's a little bit soft, but it's okay. These thumb studs are pretty horrendous. But the detent is okay. It does have that very cheap, like wobbly bearing feel. If you guys are familiar with that, like how cheap knife bearings sometimes feel, they're super wobbly and just don't feel right. Let's look at the fitment here. So you can see here that we've already got all kinds of marks and scratches on the brass. Look at this. We've got the wood is chipping out around the screw holes. Fit and finish. I mean, look at that lip right there. Yeah, fit and finish is not really a thing. Tip down only clip. You know, kind of a shame, but what are you really expecting? Ugly clip. We've seen this clip on so many cheap knives. Doesn't really fit the style of the knife. Really, we'll test out how the clip works here in a little bit. Centering on this one is actually... I mean, like in person, it looks... For some reason, it looks worse on video. It is definitely off to this side, but it's not rubbing. Look at the gap right here. Look at that gap between the liner and the scales. Let's open this up, maybe show that better. Yeah, that's pretty atrocious. And unfortunately, this is probably the best fit and finish of the bunch. Very, very fingerprinty satin finish there. Okay, set that aside over there. Let's grab this other one. Like I said, I do actually like the look of this blade. I do like the swedge on top. This one's also hollow grind. We do actually have a differentiation between the two grinds. You can see very slightly right there. Combo edge. I'm not the biggest fan of combo edges, but, you know, whatever. Again, just really, really scuffed up on the bolsters and everything. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that's just horrible. You can see the machining lines on all the liners. I don't think the liners are supposed to be proud of the scales because they're not on this one. But on this one, you can see that the liners clearly, especially on this side, stick up above the scales. And that really does affect the ergos. Like, I can feel those edges and hot spots biting in. The clip I can feel quite a bit. This one's also on bearings, of course. This one has a little bit of a lighter detent than the other one. But, like, not... I mean, it is definitely noticeably lighter, but, you know, whatever. You hear that? A little bit of lock stick. Centering on this guy is about the same as the other one. Also off to this side a little bit. I mean, look at that separation up there. Jeez. The grind itself, look at how uneven that tip is. Yeah, not amazing. Not amazing. Blade play. No up and down. Very slight side to side. Maybe we'll try and fix some of that here in a second. All right, let's get on to the fixed blades, because actually, surprisingly, I think the fixed blades have the worst fit and finish of anything in the set. So we already talked about the sheaths. Yeah, the sheaths suck. But let's go ahead and get into the knives. Actually, I want to start with the other one because I think that one's the worst of the worst. So let's start with this one. Look at this. Oh my gosh. What on earth? Ugh. And I know, guys. $5 knife. But in my head, I'm comparing this to, like, Ozark Trail. And remember, the original price of this was $30. So really, these are $6. Well, you know, closer to $6 knives, right? Jeez. Again, sharpening choil is actually surprisingly well done. The edges on these actually don't look horrible either. Like, they're not great, but they're not as uneven as I would maybe expect. We'll do a sharpness test here in a second. I really hate how deep the screws sit into the scales here. Look at this little area back here. Look at that. That's just like that's just a canyon in there between the scales and the tang. And look at this. Look how bad the fitting is right here. Oh my gosh. Yarg. And yeah, that really does bring the ergos on this knife down significantly. From far off, like, that's a, it's an okay looking knife, right? I mean, I've definitely seen worse. And then you get close up in the details and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's hideous. It's horrible. All right. Now let's move on to what I think is the worst of the worst. Oh my gosh. I mean, what is this? What is this? And then look at this. This is what I think makes this one the worst. Look at that. This is like it's like stairs. That's horrible. Horrible fitment. And then you look on the inside here, and we can see we've got kind of the opposite problem that the other one had, where the scales are coming proud of the tang right here. You've got these really, really big corners right there. You can see here the wood is like chipping out. Horrible machining on that brass. And yeah, in the hand, this one just feels horrible. You feel every single one of those inconsistencies and irregularities. It's just, ugh. It's just not good, guys. It's just not good. Okay, but I know what we're all wondering. Are they sharp? Do they cut? What do you think? All right, so let's go ahead and test it out. Oh my gosh! It took me forever to grab that paper. It was actually a much better edge than I was anticipating. I'm not going to lie to you. Let me grab that little piece of paper. Remember, guys, don't litter. Okay, that was shocking. That was shocking, but again, I do think this is the best knife in the bunch, so I'm kind of happy to see that. Okay, all right. Let's try the tactical folder. Yeah, like with a lot of cheap Tontos, this right here, they just don't sharpen that transition well enough. As for the serrations, yeah, I mean, the serrations are sharp in their little valleys. Nothing exceptional. This is about what I was expecting that knife to do, so there we go. Yeah, this one does have, I think the detail on this one's getting weaker. Like, it just kind of like I could power it out, but if that was using extra effort. If I just go for it like I would go for any other, thumb stud knife. Here's a knife that's a crossbar lock on bearings or on washers. Okay, if I use that same amount of effort on this one, just feels a little slow, a little sluggish. And if I don't get the thumb stud just right, it just kind of like farts out. Okay, whatever, right? Whatever. All right, let's test the reflexes like a gosh darn cat. All right, let's go ahead and test the gut hook. The wind is not making it easy out here to test the sharpness, but we'll be okay. I mean, that is actually not bad. There's a little hang up right here, but that's not, I mean, that's not like razor sharp. It's not like, knife enthusiast sharp, but I would say that's a really good functional edge. That's an edge that you can definitely use. That's a working edge right there. In fact, I'd say it's a little more refined than just a working edge. That knife has an edge on it. All right, let's try this one. Yeah, I mean, I feel a little bit of roughness, but they honestly got sharpened at the factory. There's a little bit of like A little bit of jaggedness on the edge of the paper. There's some paper filaments on the blade here, so it's definitely more on the toothy side of an edge. And I can even feel that too. Like, it does have some bite. It's a very toothy edge, which isn't a bad thing. What steel are these made from? Who knows? If I had to guess, I would say it's probably like 3CR, 440A, 440B type steel, something like that. So, nothing incredible. But I gotta say, like, the sharpness on these is a little bit better than expected, except for on this one. But other than that, yeah, not horrible. I brought some other, like, I brought a little piece of cardboard and some rope here too that I thought maybe we'd mess around with just for funsies, but I don't really think we need to. You know what? Maybe we will, just for the heck of it. Let's do a little bit of a rope pull like I do in my review cutting. Yeah, that felt good. I mean, again, toothy edge, and it tore through that rope pretty dang well. I'm not upset with that. Yeah. So fit and finish sucks. Build quality is not the greatest thing out there, but I guess technically they do have an edge, and they can be used. Again, I think this is the best of the bunch, and this is actually a really, really cool design. I do like this design a lot. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Wharncliffes. They just don't fit my needs that well, that they don't fit my EDC type that great. I like to do a whole bunch of things with my folding knife that Wharncliffe just isn't good at. I do a lot of food prep with my folding knife, while I'm out on the trail, camping, things like that. I like to, at my job, I have to cut a lot of zip ties sometimes, and having a drop point or clip point where I can kind of roll onto that zip tie works better than having a Wharncliffe, in that opinion. I'm not someone that likes to get under a zip tie and then rip out like that. I think that's a good way to hurt yourself or someone. If I've got a zip tie and the material under it can be cut against, I like to push into the zip tie to cut it. And Wharncliffes just aren't good for that. And I also don't prefer a Wharncliffe for, like, breaking down cardboard. I mean, I know some people say that they're the best blade shape for that. I just don't really prefer them for that. But they do have their uses, and I can enjoy a good Wharncliffe. And this is one that I think, if this design was higher quality, if it was built better, if it had different materials, this is a knife that I actually could see myself carrying and enjoying quite a bit. This knife here, very, very standard for this, tier of knife. And again, in my head, I'm kind of comparing these to, like, Ozark Trail knives, which do a lot more for about the same price. This one's just not anything special at all. So, there's that. The design is not unique. This, I thought, was a kind of fun design. This is the knife that caught my eye for this entire box. I was like, that's an interesting looking knife for this genre of knife. So there's that. And as for the fixed blades, this one, if I was held at gunpoint and had to choose one of these fixed blades to carry and use, it would be this one. Fit finish is marginally better than the other one. And the blade shape, the straight clip point, it's my favorite blade shape, so I like that a whole lot. And this is probably the worst of the bunch, I would say. The fit and finish on this one is just absolutely atrocious, and I'm not a fan of gut hooks. I don't think I finished what I was saying with that earlier. Let me know if you guys use gut hooks. I've spent my life hunting. I spent my life around hunters. Spent my life helping my dad necropsy dead cows in the field. Go away, bee. And no one I know who breaks down animals is a big fan of gut hooks. I was never really taught to use them, and so I don't really have a use for them, I guess. I think the only thing I've ever seen someone use a gut hook for, and the only thing that I would ever consider using it for, is actually getting in under the skin on, like, the legs and hoping to tear down that seam, like along a tendon. But you can also just do that with a scalpel or a caping knife. So, but yeah, there we go. There is a box of Realtree knives. I guess in order from worst to best, or best to worst. This one's the best. Then probably this one is second. Then this one, and of course last is that gut hook. The sheaths on these and the fit and finish really hurt the fixed blades in this set. Like they are pretty atrocious. But yeah, there we go. Did you guys pick up the set for the holidays? Are you going to pick one up now that you see it on sale at Wally World? Would you like to see more videos with these knives? What would you like to see me do with them? Leave all that information down in the comments below, and yeah, I'll get to them. Big shout out to my channel members at the Cowboy level. I appreciate everything you do for the channel. If you want to become a member and support me directly, there's a link down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.